Do men and women have different pronunciation in American English? Yes, but why? This is a question I get from students a decent amount of times because often the question is, look, if I'm a male student, should I get like a male teacher? Or if I'm a female student, should I get a female teacher? Is this going to impact the way that I talk? And the reality is that, yes, there may be some subtle differences between the ways that males communicate in English and also females communicate in English. And this can affect grammar, vocabulary, lots of other forms. But we're going to specifically focus on pronunciation, starting with this.
Stop grumbling! Stop crying!
Men are more likely to use casual forms of pronunciation than women. What does this mean? Well, for instance, take a look at like an NG sound. For instance, like in a word like sing, sing. Typically, the way you would pronounce this is you would raise the back of your tongue, lower the front of your tongue, and get like this type sound. Sing. But something that you'll often see with male speakers especially is that G will get dropped, like for instance, singing.
Singing.
Or bringing.
Bringing.
Now, both male and female speakers can do this, but it's just a tendency. It's more common to find this among male speakers than female speakers. Female speakers are more likely to use standard enunciated forms of pronunciation. Oh, and by the way, this doesn't really even have to do necessarily with formal versus informal speech. Even in situations like meetings or even talking with, say, the President of the United States, you may encounter these.
Stop crying.
About to make it stop crying.
Stop crying.
Stop crying!
Stop crying. Stop crying.
Do men and women have the same placement? Are they projecting from the same location in their throat? It is true that in general, male speakers in American English pronunciation are going to project from a lower point than female speakers. That being said, even female speakers in American English tend to have a lower placement than female speakers of other language groups. You can see this situation, for instance, with the S sound.
Sam's snake.
Some people, especially women who are interested in recordings, doing like voice work and things like that, what they may find is that they have slight problems with the S. It creates what's called a sibilant S, or like a very strong hissing sound like S. This is because in general for S sounds for women, they tend to be pronounced closer to the tooth, whereas for men, it tends to be a lower, more resonant sound. And again, this is not a problem that's limited to women. It's just more common among women. Now, if you're walking down the street trying to listen to people's S's, the chances are pretty good that you're not going to notice this difference. It's again more amplified by if you're using, say, a microphone. Hey guys, if you're learning something new, let me know. Press like and tell me one new thing that you just picked up. Another situation that's more common among women than men is a situation called a vocal fry. This is something that has been spreading from California all across the United States, especially I would say in like the last 5 or 10 years or so. And it's this situation where, well, you can listen here.
What can I get you?
I'd like a large coffee.
Okay, so hot coffee.
Hot coffee.
Okay, room for cream.
Totally leave room for cream.
Why are you talking like that?
Notice that kind of like
Low, almost raspy, scratchy kind of sound.
and again, this is something that you're encountering more and more in American English. Men are not typically people that use the vocal fry sound. This is a trait that's more commonly found among women. One last aspect that may even have an impact on your relationships, if you're seeking a relationship with a partner, is that men are generally associated with less clear speech, more kind of mumbly type speech where the words aren't pronounced as clearly. Women are often associated with more clearly enunciated speech. So what can happen subconsciously is that men are seeking people that speak very clearly because that's a trait that's often associated with femininity. Whereas on the other hand, Women often may be seeking subconsciously people that are speaking a little bit less clearly because that's a trait that's often associated with masculinity. Again, this doesn't happen all the time, it's just some common characteristics that have been identified. A lot of these points that you'll begin to notice have some biological basis, but some of these behaviors are also more cultural. They're learned. So for instance, a vocal fry. There's no biological reason why women need to use a vocal fry. It's just a trait that's becoming more common. Similar to that, a lot of these traits associated with, say, masculinity or femininity have impacts for instance, people that are considering themselves transgender or that are going through processes to change their gender, or for instance, speakers who are gay. So for instance, gay males, homosexual males may take on some of these traits that we've identified that are more associated with women. So again, these forms of speech have cultural impacts and social impacts, although they may not necessarily be biological. Now, how do these things impact you as language learners? If you're a male speaker, should you only get male teachers? If you're a female, should you only get women speakers? I wouldn't say that it has such a large impact that you need to pick teachers solely based on gender. I think you can just be aware of these traits, but most of them are relatively minor, and I don't think they'll have a huge impact on your instruction that you're receiving. There have been some studies that have indicated that women language learners generally are better at clearly pronouncing things like consonant sounds and vowel sounds. At least they perform a little bit better than men, but I wouldn't say the impact of this is something that should concern you for my male speakers out there. Now, whether you're a man or a woman, you want to make sure, especially if you're in like a business setting, that you're pronouncing things clearly. And here are some videos to help you.